Good morning, good afternoon. It's my great pleasure today, again, to talk about something that personally I really like, which is longevity. I already said that, at least two sides, and biological side and mental sides, are something that is really tempting about this concept in general. And I think the more we talk about quality of life, the more longevity is becoming a center of this discussion. It's my great pleasure to have today in the studio world-class scientist Aubrey de Grey, who is representing Longevity Escape Velocity Foundation from California, and Robert Jarema, Medical Director, Male Health and Performance Department at Longevity Center. Welcome. So good morning, and before we'll start our broader discussion, maybe I will ask you briefly to introduce yourself.
Sure, thank you. Yes, as you say, I'm Dr. Aubrey de Grey. I am the President and Chief Science Officer of a non-profit foundation based in California called LEV Foundation. This is the third foundation that I have led over the past 20 years. And throughout all of that time, our goal has been to develop new medicines, or rather to do the early stage in the development of new medicines that will be able to keep people healthy for a lot longer than can be done today.
Great. And maybe a few words from your side.
So my name is Robert Jarema. I'm MD, PhD, and Medical Director in Longevity Center here in Warsaw, because we have another one in Zurich, Switzerland. So I'm a medical center, and we do exactly what you said, but in practice. So we are, fighting with aging and helping people live healthier and longer, mostly healthier than longer.
I'm sure the demand is huge because, of course, we all know about aging demographics all over the world. Before we'll see what is happening on the practical side and who is actually coming to Longevity Center and who are you dealing with, maybe let's start with the research part, because I think it's always the foundation of everything, or at least it should be. So I'm really curious where we are with the research today.
The research that the PhDs do and the research that the MDs and the MD PhDs do are very closely linked, of course, because our goal as researchers is to give the MDs better tools. At the moment, we all know that there are some medical problems that are completely solved. We just don't have smallpox anymore, and there are other problems that are substantially solved, like HIV. We can do a lot better there than we could 20, 30 years ago. And there are some problems that are only very slightly solved, and certainly aging is one of those. We can keep people a bit healthy for a little bit longer than we would if they didn't have the benefit of people like Robert, but we would like to do better, and that's where the linkage comes. So really, the practical way to answer your question is to look at the time frames. How soon are we going to be able to make a much bigger difference to the time that people can stay healthy? And I believe that we are within striking distance. Within 12, 15 years from now, I think we have a 50% chance of getting maybe 20 years of additional healthy life, which is several times what we can do today. And I also want to mention that even though people often focus on the lifespan side, and they kind of think, what's the point of living a long time? The reason they say that is precisely what Robert said, that, we have a misunderstanding in society about what the work that is done, both at the research level and at the clinical level, is all about. We are all about keeping people healthy. And there is this side effect that if you're healthy, you're probably not going to die very soon, right? So health span and lifespan go hand in hand. And it's not like there's a trade-off between quality and quantity. There is, of course, today there are things that we enjoy doing, that are bad for you, right? But for what our work is all about, quality is what gives quantity. They go together.
That's interesting concept. But in your research, in terms of these factors that may have an impact on this, longer healthy lifespan, you focus on the factors that are around in the environment, your habits, or is it more like some therapies? Where is,
It's much more the therapies. So, of course, many people have different environments, they have different genetics, they have different lifestyles. But really, the fundamentals of aging, what's going on at the molecular level and the cellular level, it's all the same things in everybody. The impact of these differences between different people is really only in the rates at which different things happen in the body at the molecular and cellular level, which means that if we can develop ways to rejuvenate people, essentially to repair this damage that the body does to itself throughout life, then the same therapies, more or less, are going to work on everybody. So today, the focus needs very much to be on personalization. And certainly Robert and his colleagues at the clinic and at other clinics around the world are really good at doing that. But I'm looking forward to a world in which personalization will become less important because more or less the same therapies will work on everybody.
So it's also about this inclusivity and diversity and universal applications of what you come up with, yes?
Yeah.
And from your perspective, because I'm sure that you are based now in California. We started this discussion a little bit earlier before starting the recording. That of course it's a little bit around with being among people with a little bit the same mindset, already know what they want, understanding this concept of longevity. And from your perspective, do you see people really understanding that there is a chance for them that if they invest in their health a little bit earlier, they will actually gain something? Or is it something that it starts when they come to you and then you give them this, lecture about necessity of...
I'm as a medical doctor, I work in the field of urology and andrology for more than 25 years, so it's a lot. Not such much as Aubrey, but
about the same.
About the same, really? Okay, and I had that opportunity to see how everything is changing. The science is coming out of laboratories, is coming out from theory to practice. And I see that people also are changing, especially men, because I'm working mostly with men. And more people are coming to us because they are really interested in their health. Partially because they are interested in health as it is, partially because a lot of people really want to live longer, but mostly healthier. And it is important to say that a big game changer were biohackers. We talked about this because biohackers are guys who wants to be, to do longer, bigger, faster, and they push the limits, the human limits, very much. It means that we learn a lot from them, and they show that it is possible. So it is important. We know that in the future some of us will have a lot of diseases, and we can divide these diseases in 4 main areas. One is oncological areas, one is cardiovascular, neurodegenerative, and then a metabolic syndrome. And we know that all these symptoms, all those illness are starting very, very early, many years before, with small changes. And now with rapid, development of science and technology, we can check these small changes and then prevent from being ill in the future. So what we do is searching for these small changes, and not only in north in the north, because we know that there are norms for everybody means for nobody. So we are searching for norms in the north. We are searching for big data because there are great knowledge about thousands of patients, and we know if something will happen here, then it will end in the illness in the future in 80%, 90%. So what to wait? It is not important. It's important to do it now. So what we do in Longevity Center, we are searching these small changes and then doing some interventions to improve the health.
But how your patients respond to this? Do they really, do you have to really explain them this concept, or it's kind that they come with this approach that they already know that if they start
the name longevity is not very good name because people misunderstand that. We always explain that it's not very important to live longer, it's much more important to live better, and from that you will live longer. This is first. Of course, in Poland, we don't have such a word like longevity, so it is
the Polish translation is like
absolutely not really absolutely. But accurate. People are very aware. People, read a lot, especially from internet, and then they understand what does it mean. And a lot of people are coming to us, and what is even more important, younger people. We have patients about 30, 35 years old. So they are very interested in their health in the future. So everything is changing. Also the mind of people, very good sign.
And from your perspective, also other, differences also in terms of the generation approach, that younger people are more open.
Yeah, I mean, of course,
If you are young, you want to believe that you are a god and you can achieve anything, but this time we know.
But it is changing, actually.
That's very, because I know from the perspective of talking now, even with people who are 50, 60, going back and telling that you have to, being 20, think about your strategy for life. I don't know, but I think that maybe it is changing.
Yeah, I mean, of course, in any area of progress, the young tend to be more open-minded, simply because they have not had all of this terrible time when the thing in question could not be done, to make them believe that it can never be done. But I think in addition to that, the point that Robert is making is really important, that there is an increasing appreciation of the value of prevention. Which is really, very lacking in society. At the moment, if you look at the big drug families, hardly any of them, some of them are, but hardly any of them are really targeted to people who are not yet sick. And that's hugely problematic, because once you're sick, it's rather harder to fix you up than if you're not sick. So the work I do is really, it's kind of treatment and it's also prevention. I'm interested in developing technologies that will genuinely rejuvenate people, make them biologically younger again. But I want mostly to treat people before they have started to go into functional decline, whether mental decline or physical decline. And this is really what people want. They want to be able to stay healthy, as you say, and then as a side effect of that, stay alive. Of course, we want to help people who have the misfortune that they are already alive and getting to middle age, and so they don't want to stay biologically 60. They'd like to be biologically 30 again. And this is the ultimate goal, and I really believe that we are within striking distance of it.
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit different approach, the expectation that you will get a magic pill that will help you
The
to
golden
stay like
pill,
this,
yeah.
and then
Everybody
it's something
asks for
different
that.
side of this if you have to put your own effort into achieving this by, some lifestyle, some habits, and
we shouldn't overemphasize that, because certainly people do want a magic pill. They want, whether it's a pill or an injection or whatever, they want something that's easy. And a lot of what Robert and his colleagues at the Longevity Clinic have focused on is compliance, getting people to actually do what you're telling them to do, which entails motivation, getting people to do things that they really don't enjoy doing in order to get long-term gain. But of course, as time goes on, as technology improves, we will be able increasingly to get the best of both worlds. To get the benefits without the downsides, or at least without so much downsides.
But you speak a lot about technology, so tell us even more about what exactly. I understand naturally that we are surrounded by technology, so probably people are, the faith in the technology is probably much better, and also the approach that it can really improve your life. What do you aim to offer to people in this regard?
The technologies in question the same things that we've all heard about, but we just kind of don't really understand the details of. So, stem cell therapies, everyone's heard of them, right? And that's going to be a huge part of the rejuvenation medicine that we have in the future that really, does far more than what we can do today. Gene therapy, similarly, modifying the genes of cells inside the body, and, other things that are more traditional, more familiar, like immune therapies, improving the performance of the immune system. We will combine all of these things. If you want to do damage repair, if you want to rejuvenate the body, you've got to change a lot of different things all at the same time, and that means it's a kind of divide and conquer strategy. No one technology is going to be the kind of center of everything. But from the point of view of the person who's receiving these treatments, it will kind of feel like that. So, today we have a vaccine that's called MMR, right? And it's for measles, mumps, and rubella. It's not a vaccine at all. It's 3 vaccines in 1 injection, right? Now, I can certainly foresee a scenario not very many years in the future, a decade from now, for example, where you have an injection that has 300 things in it, with a bunch of stem cells of different types. Yeah, and a bunch of different gene therapies, different viruses or other vectors that are providing things, and you can provide them all in one go because they don't interfere with each other; they help each other.
Mm-hmm. You started the comment, so please continue. I mean, when people come to you, how easy it is to make them. I mean, one thing is to test and to do the whole compliance, yes, and then to make them use, for example, your longevity recommendations, yes, your longevity plan. I believe that's
yes. So please let me take a step back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in longevity, we are doctors, medical doctors. So we have to be sure that somebody who takes the new possibilities, new therapies, is really healthy. Mm-hmm. So what we prepared is a special health assessment to mm-hmm. check the health, the level of health, and then if there are some disturbances, if there are some problems, to prepare the recommendations to improve the health to the level of optimal health for each person, because we believe in personalization. So this is the first step. If we don't know what is the level of health of such person, we are not very willing to give them new therapies because we don't know where it ends. So at the beginning, the health, and yesterday Aubrey did the health assessment. It was not very painful, I suppose. Took about 5 hours, not mm-hmm. long. So because of that, we know much more about him. And then upon this, we can decide what exactly we can do to improve his health, mm-hmm. prepare some interventions. Mm-hmm. So first one is health, and first one is knowledge about health of our clients, because there are no patients, they are healthy, our clients. And after that, we can use a lot of things in our clinic because we have a lot of new, devices in our clinic. It is very important in new medicine 3.0, it is called in the US. And we use a lot of new devices for diagnostics, but also interventions. For diagnostics, we use this ECG Holter, blood pressure Holter, but also heart rate variability, which gives us information about level of stress for many days. We use this continuous glucose measurement. We use sleep assessment. We use a lot of that, but also we use a lot of devices in our clinic to improve health, like cryo chamber, like hyperbaric chamber, infrared light therapy. But we have new lymphatic massage. But we also have very good new devices in our clinic. One is cognitive fitness, neurocognitive fitness, which combines cognitive improvement with fitness, which is very, very nice. It's like a gaming but with legs, mm-hmm. which is not very easy to do. Another one is dry floating. Do you know what is dry floating? Okay, floating is when you go into a special chamber and mm-hmm. Into the water to calm yourself. But
floating,
now,
yes,
mm-hmm. but now we have dry floating, mm-hmm. so you don't have to take off your clothes. Mm-hmm. You're just going in your clothes for 20, 30 minutes, and it's absolutely amazing result with calming yourself. And every day you can come to our center and use it. Very, very good. Mm-hmm. I really welcome you to that.
Oh, well, sounds really great. But from the perspective of your clients, do you actually see that they really come, to get some, long-term perspective on their healthy life, or more of them are looking for the quick wins,
No, at first, a lot of clients are coming by themselves because they heard about us, and mm-hmm. Friends took the place in our clinic and took the health assessment, and then they improved their health. Then we are doing this health assessment, and most of them really knows something new about their health, which is very interesting because except this cardiovascular system health, lung health, brain health, we are assessing also DNA test, microbiome, we do sleep quality, we do mitochondria, so a lot of information about such a client. And after that, we are preparing a report with recommendations, and then really understand themselves. And after that, they're willing to do next step, to go further, to improve their health. So we don't have much problem with convincing mm-hmm. them to stay with us because they want to mm-hmm. do better and to live better. So mm-hmm. it's pretty easy.
Yeah, I know
the hardest mm-hmm. is the first step. Mm-hmm.
Like always, yes, but that's what I'm saying, that, we talk about, I'm definitely a big fan of, and I think that we have to, we don't have a choice. We have to go into the prevention, because I think looking at the aging demographics all over the world, none of the, country in the world will manage with such a number of people who are aging, if they will be, like now in, over 60, you have at least 3 diseases, yes, some of them chronic diseases. I think it's unmanageable, yes. So I'm always wondering on the psychological side, the biological side, we get more and more research. We have therapies, interventions, technologies that respond to this, yes. And then the question is of the people approach and the awareness, yes, that if you start.
The awareness is rising. I'm very, pleased to see that more and more people are really interested in that, and more of our clients knows much more than when they come to our clinic. So we can, just talk with them, not to teach them, but talk with them, which is very important.
Mm-hmm. But do you think it can be like a mainstream awareness, or is it like more like the small group of people, early adopters, maybe in several countries, some communities?
Well, I mean, everything goes through a phase where it's a minority pursuit by early adopters. I mean, that's the definition of the term, right? And then eventually it becomes more mainstream.
So where we are.
For me, and I think also, I mean, for everybody in the field, all the way from me to Robert and everywhere in between, is it's all about speeding that up. It's getting that awareness, that improvement in understanding of the value of prevention and the opportunities that can be achieved both today and in the future. Getting that out there. I think the problem really that we are faced with, the entire community within the longevity field, is that aging has been with us since the beginning of civilization, right? And we've not been able to do anything about it. Whether even psychologically, it's really been a kind of a distraction, more or less. And we've had to live with that. So people have developed these tricks, these psychological mechanisms to put aging out of their minds and get on with their miserably short lives and just let themselves go downhill. And, when people are in that kind of mindset, it's incredibly difficult to shift them out of it. And some people will shift out of it more easily than others because perhaps they start out being more inclined to aim high. But at the end of the day, the only way that we're going to get a really mainstream appreciation of this is by, first of all, the benefits that those early adopters experience being communicated to everybody else. And by, in fact, communication is the one word key to all of this. I'm out there on stage and on camera all the time, but I'm a scientist, right? And the way I say things generally appeals to scientists. They get what I'm saying. A lot of people don't get what I'm saying. And so it's enormously valuable that today, and over the past maybe 5 or 10 years, we've now seen a much greater diversity of messaging, of communication. People like Robert and Joanna out there being interviewed by you, and saying kind of the same things that I've been saying for a long time, but in different words that resonate with different communities. I think that's where we're going to get this acceleration of awareness and appreciation.
And also maybe a little bit gender approach. Any differences between men and women in terms of, approaching and being open for this kind of concept?
If I can add something, I don't think we are in the phase of early adopters only, because every year there is ongoing conference for biohackers in London, and this year I participated there. And what I pleased to see was that the best biohackers in the world less and less talked about biohacking and more talked about longevity. So everything is changing. They don't want to go further, faster, but they are thinking about long, good life. So there were the early adopters. There, now on conferences, more and more conferences, they are talking about longevity, more and more about life, long life and good life. So this is a very good sign.
Okay, so what's ahead of us, to summarize our, if you could imagine where we will be with this concept if I invite you to the studio in 5 years?
Let me answer the question in relation, 5 years is fine.
5 years is fine, okay.
I think that the main thing that we will see in 5 years is a huge acceleration, a huge additional progress in the attitudes, in the awareness of all of this, the kind of thing that Robert was just saying. I think by that time, it will be only the minority who are still talking about aging as kind of, not really a medical problem and as kind of separate from that. everyone will understand, well, not everybody, but most people will understand that aging is something we can do something about, and that we should be trying really hard to develop better ways to do even more about it than what we can so far. So I expect that there will be a huge elevation in, for example, government funding for this field. In terms of the outcome at my end, the research that develops these radically improved therapies, I think within 5 years we will probably still only have made a modest amount of progress. It's just that there will be a greater understanding that progress is really happening. So 10 years from now, 15 years from now, we will be in a, I won't say we'll be in a post-aging world, but we will be getting pretty close to that.
Very optimistic. And from your side?
Yeah, I'm also very optimistic because now we have more and more patients in our database. So we can learn more and more about how people behave and what is good or bad for them in a scale of their life. But also we have artificial intelligence. What is the key word for Aubrey? Because artificial intelligence is a game changer. And so I suppose it will be very, very fast development in science and technology with AI. So I don't know, maybe you will tell much more about that, but
now you have to.
I will I'll be afraid of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what Robert is referring to is that before I was a biologist, I worked in artificial intelligence research 30 years ago or more. So, I mean, AI is already playing an important role, a very important role in the research to identify new pharmaceuticals, new therapies that have the potential to postpone age-related decline. And also not just new ones, but also repurposing of old ones that are already approved for other conditions. But I think one of the things that AI is going to be particularly useful for in the near future comes back to the biohackers and the early adopters, because these are typically people who are not performing whatever they're doing to themselves within the confines of a clinical trial, with everything being measured, in a standardized way and so on. We've got kind of N of 1 experiments, as they're often called. And a large part of why many people in the mainstream of medicine kind of ignore these people is because they don't know how to interpret them. They don't know how to extract information that could be applied to other people. Now, this is really what AI does. Machine learning is all about perceiving patterns in data, in large bodies of data, that humans just have not perceived because they're just too subtle. And I believe that as over the next few years, not 10 years, like 2 or 3 years, as the amount of data available to analyze in this way increases so rapidly, we will learn an awful lot from these N of 1 experiments that we never thought we would be able to learn.
That's very optimistic, and
this is
something we'll experience quite shortly, I would say.
I would say so.
Yeah, well, definitely. I think, we come back to the foundations, yes, research, data, and then we can actually, start the applications and see what are the results. And as we already know, they will be probably very convincing. And then we will move from early adopters to those who will be the followers. And we'll get to the point where prevention will take over the cure side of our systems. Let's hope that it will happen. It will be much faster than we can expect. Thank you very much for the discussion. It was really a pleasure to have you today in the studio.
Thank you very much.